Let's be real for a second. Glenn Quagmire is one of the wildest characters in TV and movie history. That is why we're here to highlight 10 of his most outrageous moments. We've said it a million times. Glenn doesn't pass up on any strange woman, but I don't think it is normal for Quagmire to dream about a better woman. The story starts with everyone in Quahog watching the news. There's this big breaking news about a huge black hole heading toward the solar system.
Mr. Hawking, what does the discovery of this black hole mean to you and your research?
I am overjoyed.
Back to you, Tom.
All right, we're clear. I'm telling you, man, this shtick is getting so old. That chair smells, dude.
And it is going to reach Earth in 24 hours.
Oh my God!
That means there's only 24 hours left for life on Earth. Just this alone could drive any sane person crazy, let alone a big pervert like Glenn Quagmire. While everyone is trying to spend their last moments with people they love or care about, Glenn goes to Joe and asks him for permission to sleep with a woman.
You gotta help me get laid.
What are you talking about, Quagmire?
I gotta get laid.
But what makes Joe agree? Quagmire gets on his knees and tells Joe that he's a virgin and all those things Joe has heard before were just noise. He says he doesn't want to die a virgin.
Buster, I just talk big for the fellas. I'm a virgin, Joe. I don't want to die a virgin.
Joe, because it is the last day on Earth, agrees. At that moment, we witness one of the most twisted things Glenn does. After he's done, he tells Joe he lied and that he's hooked up multiple times.
Oh, I've had sex lots of times. I just wanted to have it again. What?
Of course, this episode can be listed among the dumbest things Peter has ever done. He was on the jury, which means he was the last person who could judge fairly without being biased. There is no way he's not a racist or a misogynist.
Bad? Your life could be worse. You could be a black.
Go ahead.
Plus, he brings a lion as a pet and claims he's going to defend the Native Americans, but ends up accidentally shooting one of them.
What the hell are you doing with a musket?
Last day on Earth. I've always wanted to save a Native American family from rapacious cavalrymen.
Yeah, this one'll do nicely.
Let her go.
Stop it. Get some help.
And he admits he hates kids.
I just hate being around the kids.
What?
Peter isn't the only one in this group, and we see a lot of the dumb things that people of Quahog want to do before they die.
Seems like I've run out of waiting time.
There are only 30 seconds left in those 24 hours when the news breaks that it was all an April Fool's joke.
2, 1, April Fools!
What?
You gotta be kidding me.
And only 87 suicides and looting have happened.
With only 87 suicides and widespread looting, we think this was a pretty successful practical joke.
You dicks!
People don't need to worry about dying, but even though everyone is happy, they're also stunned because Peter's last line was that he doesn't want the kids to be there.
Kids, why don't you go upstairs so your father and I can talk?
Yeah, come on, Meg and Chris. Let's get out of here.
Knowing this drives the kids more crazy than the black hole itself. Now all the kids hate him and he has to do something to get things back to normal.
So Stewie, how's everything going in Legoland?
Oh, pretty good. I made a spaceship. Wait a minute, I'm not talking to you.
But we all know it is going to lead to a series of screw-ups. He asks Meg about her period, which is probably the last thing any teenage girl wants to discuss with her dad.
Having your period?
What?
I'm just trying to take an interest in your interests.
My period's not an interest.
He suggests Chris get high with him, but Chris can't stand what Stewie is saying.
That feels better.
So the only way out for Peter is to tell them how much he loves them and cares about them. But of course, that doesn't work, and he goes and buys them an Xbox, which actually does the trick.
Well, I guess if you can't earn your kids' respect, you can always buy it.
The main story of this episode kicks off when Meg turns 18 and it is her birthday.
Surprise!
Ow.
The family heads to the Teen Choice Awards, where the place is packed with 13, 14-year-olds who are so hyped to see Robert Pattinson, Justin Bieber, or even some singers we can't even identify.
I tell you, every year I recognize fewer and fewer names.
That they're practically losing their minds. Like, Seriously, they're literally pulling their hair out and popping their eyes out. I mean, it is just wild. This is exactly the kind of place an 18-year-old girl shouldn't be because she feels like she's too grown up for this stuff. Not only does she not enjoy it, but she's also miserable that night. Sometimes I think the family has some personal issues with Meg.
Oh, in the kitchen, Meg!
But Peter, who's still not quite mature enough, clearly enjoys the events.
I touched him.
Eventually, the ceremony wraps up with an old guy, Wilford Brimley of course, bringing it to an end, complete with a gun because the teenagers are so loud and bouncing that it drives everyone crazy.
Oh my God!
So they head back home, and this was supposed to be the start of a surprise for Meg's birthday.
Hey, what's with all the cars on the street?
Oh, they're all here for your surprise party, Meg.
Peter, for God's sake, you idiot!
Are you serious?
The story takes a sad and strangely amusing turn. I don't think you could experience these two feelings simultaneously before Family Guy. Anyway, no one shows up for Meg's birthday. In fact, more people showed up for Mort's party at a Jewish boxing club, which took up the whole street. But Chris couldn't resist the money that Lois bribed him with to invite others.
Chris, what the hell? I thought you were gonna pay the kids from school to show up. I gave you $300.
Why do you think Dad's here?
So Meg ends up facing an empty house on her 18th birthday. Just before everyone goes to bed, someone comes to celebrate Meg's birthday, and that someone is none other than Quagmire. Even if you've only seen a couple of episodes of the series, you probably get why he cares about Meg's birthday. This isn't just any birthday for Meg, it is her 18th, which means she's officially of legal age, and Quagmire can legally hook up with her. That night, Quagmire tries to grab Meg's attention, which of course doesn't go unnoticed by Brian.
Quagmire hitting on that skank. You know he's gonna close the deal. Peter, that skank is your daughter. Oh my God, you're right!
Glenn even brings Meg a gift because he'll do anything to charm a woman.
A scented candle? But as a girl, I love this.
Throughout this episode, we see Glenn lying through his teeth, and we don't quite know when he's telling the truth.
And you know what? You got another member right next door if you ever want to talk and stuff. Happy birthday.
But now we know he's just spewing nonsense to try and get Meg into bed. It is honestly gross. We should hate Glenn now, right? But somehow, no. Why? Because Glenn and Meg are a thing. And that night, when he gets home, he starts sweet-talking Meg.
Anyway, this is a special day for you, young lady. Here's a gift for you.
It is creepy how Glenn knows exactly how to lure a teenager in. And instead of saying he wants to sleep with her, he says, "So many stars tonight."
I love stars.
Or is never been with a woman before.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Can teenagers really be that clueless? Is it always that obvious? The episode continues with Meg and Glenn going out. Surprisingly, it is Peter who has a problem with this because he knows Glenn is a total creep and will have sex with anything.
Hey, Lois, I'm starving. What's for dinner?
I made meatloaf. It's in the fridge.
Hey, Peter, do you mind?
We see Peter making all sorts of attempts to separate them, but this time it is Lois who's against it. Probably because she did the same thing just to annoy her parents, probably with Peter.
Ahead, it's just a game. I used to do the same thing to my parents. The problem is they pushed back, and the results were not good.
But maybe Lois isn't wrong this time because Meg has totally fallen for Glenn's act. I mean, if you watch the episode, you'll see Quagmire shows a totally different side of himself.
I'm gonna... Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. It's just your body. Sometimes things slip out.
Don't be too hard on Meg. In the end, all of Glenn's efforts pay off, and he convinces her to come to his cabin in the woods for the weekend.
We taking our shirts off now? Okay, follow the leader.
And we all know what's about to go down that weekend. Everyone except Meg. When Lois finds out Glenn plans to take Meg to a place called the Sex Cabin, she can't hold back anymore.
Is that right? Oh, don't worry, Peter. He's not gonna sleep with her. That's you.
And says they need to get Meg back as soon as possible. So Peter's first move is to get Lois to admit she made a mistake and call herself an idiot.
You admit you were stupid.
Yes, yes!
You admit all women are stupid.
No!
All right, I'll take what I can get. Come on!
Peter takes every opportunity to shove Lois's mistake in her face, even in the situation while Meg is on her way to the sex cabin with Glenn.
Oh, good luck to them.
Peter!
Oh, right, let's go.
Both of them head toward the cabin, and in the end, Peter does something nobody expected. He somehow pulls Meg away from Glenn, and by the end of the episode, you can guess why. This exact thing happened to him too, but we can't really tell if Peter was joking or if it really happened. In this episode, Quagmire gets into trouble again due to his sexual deviancy and is arrested by the police.
A scandal at the Quahog bowling alley tonight, where a local man, Glenn Quagmire, was charged with peeping in the ladies' room.
The person who complains about him is Lois, because while she was trying to go to the public restroom, Quagmire was staring at her from above.
Would you just sit down and go to the bathroom already?
I mean, how enjoyable can it be for a woman to go to the bathroom? Anyway, the police catch him, but Joe, because of his credibility in the police department, manages to bail Quagmire out.
You're lucky I've got some extra pull around here, thanks to my 18 medals for heroism.
Geez, here he goes again with the medals.
Lois and the other women give Quagmire just one more chance, and if he does something deviant again, he'll have to leave Quahog.
But one more incident like the one at the bowling alley and Quagmire is out of this neighborhood.
But how can Quagmire not be deviant? I mean, that is part of his character, and it is something people love about him. He imagines almost everything he sees as a naked woman, whether it is a tree or a mailbox.
Meg, get out of the way.
Wherever he looks, he sees naked women, so how can he control himself to avoid being kicked out of town? The other guys in Quahog try to help him control his urges.
Now don't worry about a thing, Quagmire. Your pals are gonna help you change your ways.
In the first test, they put Quagmire naked on a couch and place a fan right in front of where he threatens women. They give him a magazine filled with sexual stories and photos, and he has to control himself no matter what. After passing this test, Peter thinks Quagmire is ready to enter public spaces.
Quagmire, time to take off your training wheels.
Okay, I think I'm ready.
But as soon as he steps into the mall, Quagmire finds himself surrounded by girls. Wherever he looks, there are girls and women nursing their babies.
Oh boy.
He starts running to escape from them, but the more he runs, the worse it gets. Eventually, he ends up in a changing room where cameras have been installed to prevent theft.
Where am I? Am I dead?
No.
Quagmire suddenly sees a girl in the room who collapses and falls to the ground, so he quickly rushes over, gives her CPR, and breathes for her. Everyone gathers around him, encouraging him for knowing how to revive the girl and save her from death.
What the hell, CPR?
But here's the catch. Quagmire has no idea what CPR really is. His goal was completely different. But that was enough for Quagmire to get a medal from the mayor for saving that girl. But you know how Peter feels when his two best friends get medals, right? Jealousy. So he does something ridiculous to get a medal too, so people will remember him after he's gone.
People are gonna know the name Peter Griffin, even if I have to shout it from the rooftops.
Among all the silly things he does, the dumbest is breaking the record for eating the most metal coins, which ultimately leads to metal poisoning and makes Peter completely blind.
Hey, you still awake, Lois, honey?
Dad?
That's right, I'm your daddy. My hands on your big soft boobs running down your big man-like
Holy crap, it's Chris!
While blind, he pulls one of his friends out of a burning building, but he doesn't realize the place is on fire.
That freaking place was on fire?
Still, just like Quagmire, it doesn't matter to the mayor, and in the end, Peter also gets a medal for his bravery. In this episode, Glenn's depravity not only gets him into trouble, but also messes up the whole town. He drowns some little kids and ends up sending himself, along with Peter and Mort, to jail.
What were you doing the night of March 8th?
Your mother.
But Quagmire never gives up his twisted ways, even if it means turning the whole world upside down. The story kicks off when Mort, Peter, and Glenn's friend who works at the pharmacy complains that no one comes in to buy anything. The pharmacy is completely empty, and the only sound allowed to play is his own singing.
This is it. Ooh, please let me know.
I wish I hadn't seen this scene. Since the last people who should be helping Mort with his business are Glenn and Peter, these two idiots with their usual unbelievable self-confidence tell Mort they'll help him succeed. When Mort asks how, they say, just leave it to us.
Like what? Hey, you just leave that to us.
Which is the last thing Mort should ever do. Their first suggestion is for Mort to use the buy one, get one free tactic, claiming it'll bring in more customers.
Say we're at someone else's store, and there's a sign and it says buy one, get one free.
Get one free? Wow! What store are you talking about?
But come on, we're talking about a pharmacy here and not a supermarket. Surprisingly, it works. At first, the number of customers skyrockets, and Quagmire and Peter have to rush to package the meds. But as soon as the pace picks up, they end up eating the medication themselves, and that is just the first disaster. Then, they try to fly a banner advertising Mort's pharmacy with a plane, which, as you can guess, involves them actually getting the plane themselves. Everything starts off well for a moment. Quagmire, being Quagmire, decides to try to spy on a naked girl in a building while they're flying.
The fuck is wrong with you?
And he veers the plane towards a skyscraper. At the last second, they dodge it. But just when they think they've made it, the pharmacy banner gets torn off and lands on a school bus, which crashes into a bridge and falls into the river. All Quagmire had to do was not be a creep in the sky for once, and I think that is the one thing he can't manage. Once again, they're on the news for causing chaos in the city.
God, I'm ruined! Nobody's ever gonna shop in my pharmacy again!
And now Mort is in a real bind, totally predictable once he started teaming up with Peter and Quagmire. No one is ever going to set foot in his pharmacy again. Any sane person would have said, forget this, I'm not working with Peter and Quagmire again. But Mort decides to burn the pharmacy down to cash in on the insurance. Why? Mort tells them about a solution, that if they spill it near the electrical wires in the pharmacy, it'll catch fire and leave no trace, allowing them to trick the insurance.
We're talking about a major crime here. This is not smuggling Oriental women into the country in steel cans. This is a serious felony.
So they agree, and the operation goes off without a hitch.
Oh my God, we did it!
The police think it was an accident, and these three go off to celebrate.
Guys, all we gotta do now is keep a low profile and not mention a word of this to anybody. I wanna tell somebody.
Peter, you shut your mouth!
But just when they think everything's wrapped up nicely, Joe shows up. The cop doing everything he can to keep this Family Guy episode from going off the rails. Joe just got back from Las Vegas and now wants to put in all his effort to help his buddy Mort, making sure no one in town intentionally burned the pharmacy down.
Just take it easy, Quagmire. There's nothing to worry about.
Hey, it's Joe. Open up.
Joe gets to work, and now these three need to keep him from figuring it out. Peter's got a tactic for that, annoying the hell out of Joe. He does everything he can to distract Joe from the case.
Oh, he's getting annoyed. Look at that. Oh my God, he's so pissed he's calling.
But meanwhile, Quagmire is freaking out from the stress and suggests they just tell Joe what they did.
I've been giving it a lot of thought, and I think we all just need to confess.
But he knows Joe takes his job seriously, and if he finds out what really happened, there's no way they'll escape jail time because insurance fraud is a serious crime. But how does Joe end up figuring out what really went down? Well, it isn't that complicated because Peter leaves Joe a voicemail right after the fire saying, "Look at the crazy fire we made with Mort and Quagmire. Idiot, for once, keep your mouth shut."
Oh my God, look at that fire we started, Quagmire and Mort. You know who I don't miss is Joe.
In the end, all three of them go to jail, but what gets Joe to bail them out is that after the incident that messed up his spine, he could only walk again if the insurance paid for the new device they invented. But all they gave him was money for a wheelchair.
I'm starting to regret erasing that message.
Too late, buttface. Have a great summer, Joe.
In this episode of The Bachelorette set in Quahog, a girl has to choose one guy from a bunch of different dudes she goes on dates with. These shows are all about romantic relationships, but they get a ton of viewers. The Bachelorette was super popular in Quahog, and a lot of guys even showed up to audition, including Quagmire.
You lined up 201 auditions? What a weird number.
You're weird.
But as usual, most people who tried out got rejected because these shows typically want young, handsome model types, not someone like Quagmire. However, 2 people from Quahog do make it in. It is all because everyone else got rejected, and Quagmire told the producers he was willing to do anything to get on the show. I mean, literally anything.
Okay, you ready?
Yep. Nope, no monsters in here.
Okay, good.
So can I be on The Bachelorette?
Yeah, good night.
On the airing day, a lot of guys get caught, but not Quagmire. Then comes the moment when they broadcast a private moment between Quagmire and the girl on TV. He slips a pill into her champagne, knocks her out, and while she is out cold, he drags her to her room. But right at that moment, he realizes the cameras are rolling, so he leaves her there and says goodbye. But before he completely shuts the door, he takes off his slipper and, well, you can guess what he does in her room. Quagmire doesn't even hesitate and gets it done. Surprisingly, he makes it to the final, and by then, he's completely fallen for the girl. For the last episode, they have to take the girl to their homes, and you can just imagine the chaos that goes down at the Griffin household. That night is definitely not one for family bonding. It is a total disaster.
There, are you happy, dog?
At the end of the episode, the girl accepts Quagmire's proposal. It is predictable that when he takes her home, he's not exactly leaving with a smile. When Quagmire brings her home, they find themselves on a filthy couch with a wildcat roaming around, and he can hear a voice outside that sounds like Quagmire's mom.
Glenn, would you feed Mittens?
She tells him to feed the cat, and when she yells at him, Quagmire says if she wants to see him with a girl, she better keep her voice down.
You want this three-way to happen, you're gonna have to change your tone.
Wait, what? With his mom? That kind of family dysfunction seems to run in the Griffin genes. But the real issue is that Quagmire is convinced the girl loves him back, which is why she picked him. But as we all know, these shows are just for TV drama and making money.